Hey guys, the video you're about to watch was me actually making it for Tales of Life, the vlog channel that I run occasionally. Um, but as I just did the conversation, I realized it was kind of a better fit for Sidetracked. But what that means is you're going to get a discussion in there probably about, me not sure where it goes, me deciding it's a sidetrack. And it's not going to be nearly as scripted as the other two sidetracks I did, which I had written and I edited and they were small essays that I, put together with a lot of thought. This is just me thinking. So it's going to be a little different, but I hope you enjoy it. Um, but this is the one piece that I've been thinking about for a little while. You might get a sidetracks on it too, when I break it out, if I break it out. But I just wanted to have a quick discussion about the concept of community, and not so much community like I live in a community, but getting along in a forum or a guild, and it's something that I've noticed I have a hard time with it, and it's a weird thing that nobody else has really. I haven't really talked to anybody else about who's had a similar problem, and it's the idea of everybody playing on a forum together. Unless it's my friends who I've gotten to know over the years, or who I happen to have slowly worked through that with, like my school friends. They're my friends now. I know they're my friends, and I know they're. But I've noticed over the years that I have a really hard time just fitting into a community. Um, and I really noticed it. I was at Ryan Husson's, who I haven't seen in forever, his graduation party, and we were talking, and that's a family. Like, I've known them for years. And brain just farted. Oh, right. And they were talking about their raiding guild, and how they had to audition for it, and really they had to put a lot of effort into getting into the guild. And but now it's like they're a community. It's that story you hear about people. It's the story you hear that ends in people getting married, or people finding work through their guild, or people, they're going. Andrew's going to BlizzCon to meet up with their guild, and that's awesome. And that's kind of the ultimate promise of MMOs and like social gaming in general, and forums and all of that. And it's something that I've never been able to do. And I don't know if it's just because I've never found a game that I got dramatically invested in time in, or if there's something else about it. Even when I was playing WoW with Ryan, with Hassan and Andrew, and we were in a guild. They were much more a part of the guild's community than I was. I was, hey, it's Red, and I'm like, oh, hi, how's it going? Or keeping in touch with the clan that I play games with occasionally. I just they're people I occasionally talk to. It's not, and it's not the kind of thing where it's like, hey, we're this tight knit group that knows where everybody, like that knows, hey, if I'm coming out that way, or we should all meet here. Um, and it's weird because it feels like I'm lacking something as a gamer. Because you hear that it's again, and I apologize, you might hear, more often than I care to do. But it's the story you hear. It's the people who make friends at cons and they're con buddies forever. Um, and that just doesn't happen very often. I get to know people, but that's kind of it. Like, I get to know them at a con. We're like, hey, yeah, we trade Skype or Steam accounts or something, and then just nothing, never again. Um, and that's weird to me because with my friends, I'm the one who makes I'm always making sure contact is kept up, keeping together. And recently, I've been really making sure I'm keeping in touch, like visiting, seeing in person old friends or school friends, because I don't like the idea of everybody kind of. Well, I mean, everybody's gonna drift apart, across the places naturally, but those are the kinds of people you want to stay in touch with. The fact that me and Hassan and Andrew have, barely seen each other in 4 years, that they've been going to school in Seattle, 30 minutes away, um, is bad. It's, not a good thing, but we're still in the end of it. I go to his graduation party, and his family is still my family. Like, I grew up with them, and I know all of them, and it was like, oh, hey, it's good to see everybody. Um, and it's just kind of, I just wanted to put some thoughts down about this because it's weird. And as gaming gets more and more social, the fact that I don't tend to fit into communities makes me wonder what's wrong with me as a gamer. And I brought it up when I was talking to somebody who was working on the Pathfinder MMO, the one that Goblin Works is working on. Like, do you guys have a system in place for people who don't get into guilds that, like, rather than WoW, it's just people are spamming. When I was playing WoW and we were in a guild, it was fun. But even that, they were just people I played WoW with, and we would talk a little bit, but we weren't serious raiders, we weren't serious gamers, so it was obviously then, that means we're not going to get along. Or not get along, but we're not going to gel into an actual community. And it's weird, because that's the grand promise of video games. It's the idea that you can go to a convention and make a whole bunch of friends, and, those friends are friends you see year after year, and that's, like, a big deal. And for me, on my end, I go to a convention with my friends, and what I've noticed is everybody goes to the convention with their friends. Although I had a lot of fun at PAX last year, going around without my friends, and just getting to know people in, like, writing panels and stuff. But that was just, you talk to some really interesting people. Cool. I'm not going to see them again. Move on. And I'm wondering, is that something wrong with cons on this coast? Because is that something that East Coast cons do? Because you hear the stories about Filk, which is fictional folk music. It's songs about video games. It's what all the YouTubers make money doing these days. But it used to be, people would just sit and sing, and that was a big deal, and there's a whole documentary I watched about it. And it's a fascinating expression of a subculture's identity. And I'm curious, too, if you can classify the fact that, Captain Sparkles does a whole bunch of songs. I think it's Captain Sparkles. Songs on Minecraft. And, people watch. Is that technically folk? Maybe not, because it's not quite folk music anymore. It's become more like postmodern rock, depending. Or Miracle of Sound and his, musical music that is often metal, but it's fictional metal. It's geek metal. Does that all kind of sit where folk is? But that's a whole other story. But you hear these stories about that kind of stuff, and it sounds amazing. It sounds wonderful. And it was this persecuted community kind of pulling together and realizing that they could be friends, and realizing, and you get a sense of that too. It's all these older people talking about the people they met at conventions. And it's because that was a safe place for them. It was a safe place for them to be who they wanted to be. And nowadays, that's not that big of a deal, especially in Seattle. But, I went to the board game convention in Calgary, 500 people. There were kids playing with other kids while their parents played a game nearby, and it sounded like those, they had all played games with each other every year for, and they had kids now, and those kids were playing. That's amazing. And I have absolutely no idea how that works from getting involved in a community like that. And that's kind of scary, because that seems like something that is very adult and something I should know how to do by now, rather than just building a community based off my friends, which is great, but it's a little different when it's 500 people at a convention and a lot of people know each other, compared to 10 of us idiots who get together once in a blue moon. And you know what? I think this is actually, there's enough here to go up as a Sidetracks. So this is probably going to be a Sidetracks instead. So wherever you're watching this, thanks for listening to me just kind of brain vomit this concept. Adios.